an element of contingency built in, so that there's a preaching going abroad, and in the future. There's a time element in here.
You gave me a different explanation now than what you set out to give me in the beginning, but
We'll have to finish.
It is complex. You
I
asked
think we're getting very closer. We already passed the time. So what I'd like to do is just...
There is a sister that
was raising
in the
hand
beginning.
I really don't know what to do.
She was early in the...
You see, because sisters are not as aggressive as we are, that doesn't mean we shouldn't give them the right. She was raising her hand earlier.
That's the last comment or question, okay? Because we have to finish this session. Thank you.
Well, I have a real short comment before I ask my question. And the comment is that you've said over and over again about the lessons in the New Testament or in the Old Testament. You can't just pick out separate verses. You have to take the whole thing all together. So, you know, it sounds like it's rather difficult for a person like one of us want to study the Bible and grab the lesson that it contains. I mean, that we need a theologian to explain it to us. Well, because all of us, the Muslims here, they give you certain examples. They pull out a verse, and sometimes it's within the context, sometimes it's not. But still, you know, you keep falling back on, well, you know, you need to grab the whole picture before you can grasp what we're trying to tell you. That's my comment, and I'll let you comment on that. And the second, my question is that, Dr. Badawi, you've written quite a few pamphlets on the Prophet Muhammad being prophesied in the Bible, and nobody has picked up on that any. I'd be real interested in having a few examples and seeing what the knowledge Christians have in response. Thank you.
Well,
You listen to... You want to answer first? Since
she was making a comment.
Okay, that's fine. If he wants to give a couple examples, then I'll respond.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Or one of us will.
It's quite obvious from the book of Genesis that God made a promise to bless all the nations of the earth through the descendants of Abraham. While, yes, there is mentioned that the covenant was made with Isaac, but it also said that the son of the bondwoman, i.e. Ishmael, will also be blessed amply. If you look at the history of the Abrahamic family tree, you find that all Israelite prophets came through the second son of Abraham, that is Isaac. The most famous historical figure from the descendants of Ishmael is Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. That to me by itself is sufficient, that the blessing to both branches of the house of Abraham has been achieved already historically. Secondly, in the book of Deuteronomy, in chapter 18, verse 18, and the continuing verses after that, I understand that most Christian theologians and Paul had made misinterpretation to refer that to Jesus. Again, the time doesn't allow, and as my sister said, there is a whole booklet on that subject, comparison between Moses and Jesus versus Moses and Muhammad. Jesus here was speaking, or Moses was speaking, addressing the Israelites in his presence before his departure. And he says, God will send you from among your brethren. Admittedly, brethren could mean Israelites or close kin, but the Israelites were already there. And the term brethren has been used frequently in the Bible also to refer to the closest kin to them, especially the Ishmaelites. And he says, a prophet like unto me. I'm not going through the comparison, but just one point. If the Christians believe that Jesus was not only a prophet and priest, or messenger and priest, but also a son of God, then there is no comparison whatsoever with Moses, the only one who had the same claim as Moses as being nothing but a prophet and messenger of God is none but Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. In the book of Deuteronomy, in chapter 33, also in the beginning, it speaks about God coming from Sinai, a possible reference to the Torah given to Moses, rising from the hills of Seir in Palestine, the town or village of Sa'ir. It's possibly a reference to the coming of Jesus. Then it says, come from Mount Paran. Mount Paran, according to the Bible, is the place where Hagar and Ishmael settled, which is historically known and undeniably being Mecca. there have been lots of confusion in some dictionaries of the Bible. They give contradictory explanation, but Faran has already been mentioned in the Bible, and we know where Ishmael and Hagar settled. In the book of Isaiah, especially in chapter 42, when it speaks about the elect of God, and it ties the advent of that person with the joy that will come to the Kedar. And Kedar, according to the Bible, are the children of Ishmael, i.e. the Arabs, who will be happy with this. There is even a prophecy about the battle of Badr in Isaiah. Amazingly, when it speaks about in chapter 21, in particular verses 13 through 17, it describes with great accuracy. If you have time, I could give you the details of the people and connect it again with Kedar, the number of Kedar that will be diminished. So the evidence is simply overwhelming, and the same thing goes on to the Paraclete. It requires more time to explain, but I would say yes, Muslims on the authority of the Quran, number one, which is their basic reference, claim that all prophets, including Jesus, prophesied the advent of Prophet Muhammad. This is mentioned in no unmistakable terms in the Quran. On the basis of the authority of the Quran, the Muslim is open to look into the Bible. Anything in the Bible that would confirm the last revelation is acceptable, and I think there is ample evidence, but time doesn't allow to go in more detail.
Thank you. Please, no more comments. Dr. Woodberry, please.
All right, I will just deal with the one prophecy, and at some other time we can deal with others. But the Deuteronomy 18:18 prophecy has been mentioned. Let me read it. I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their brethren, and I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them that all that I command him. From among your brethren. Now let's look at the context from the book itself. Deuteronomy 18, same chapter, the first two verses. The Levitical priests, that is all the tribe of Levi, shall have no portion or inheritance with Israel. They shall have no inheritance among their brethren. So Israel and brethren are equated there. Judges 20:13. But the children of Benjamin would not hearken to the voice of their brethren, the children of Israel. Here their brethren is specifically stated to be the other tribes of Israel as distinct from the tribe of Benjamin. Then one other passage, again from Deuteronomy, because we are trying to get our definition from the same book. Deuteronomy 17:14 and 15. When you enter the land which the Lord your God gives you, and you possess it and live in it, you shall say, I will set a king over me like the nations who are around me. You shall surely set a king over you, whom the Lord your God chooses from among your countrymen. You shall set as king over yourselves. You may not put a foreigner over yourselves who is not your countryman. This is the same word, however, in the Hebrew that is translated in the other passage as brethren. Now, if it was to be, also it says, it is to be a prophet like you, Moses. Now let's look at some of the parallels here. Moses and Jesus were both Israelites. Moses and Jesus both had left Egypt to perform God's work. Muhammad wasn't there. Moses and Jesus forsook great wealth to share the poverty of their people, which we have no evidence of Muhammad doing, and on and on. But I think the main thing I want to point out there is just the matter of among your brethren, which in that context certainly means an Israelite, which Muhammad was not. And certainly the New Testament took this to be Jesus. The Bible often calls Jesus a prophet as well as the Son of God. Many references could be given, but Matthew 13:57. I think I'll stop at that point there. I think it's enough to show that this passage is not understood in the Bible as referring to.
In the next 3 minutes, can I have a dialogue between both of you?
Okay.
Please.
I must comment first of all that Dr. Woodberry is piling together so many things from so many different references in rebuttal in what I consider to be unsuccessful rebuttal really